My husband's parents moved in for 2 weeks after their house flooded, but stayed for 16 months and criticized my parenting every day. So I did this when they demanded we convert the nursery into their permanent bedroom. Long-time lurker, first-time poster, but I need advice because I'm about to lose my mind. Throwaway because my sister-in-law knows my main account and I need to vent. I'm a female, 34, living with my husband Donald, male, 36, and our 3 kids, Ethan, 8, Zoe, 5, and our baby Noah, 10 months. Donald's parents, Mary and Raymond, both 67, moved in with us after their house flooded 16 months ago. Yes, 16 months ago. What was supposed to be a just 2 weeks until insurance sorts things out situation has turned into whatever this is. Anyway, when the flood happened, Donald immediately offered his parents our guest room / my office because family helps family, and it's just for a couple weeks. I agreed because of course you help family during an emergency. My own parents divorced when I was young and both remarried, creating this weird extended family situation where everyone lives far away and just sends Amazon packages on birthdays. So I actually like the idea of having grandparents around for the kids. But those 2 weeks have turned into 16 months. 16 months. I've been working from the kitchen table since they moved in, trying to sound professional on client calls while there's family noise everywhere. Do you know how hard it is to explain to clients why there's a 67-year-old man loudly complaining about the news in the background of what's supposed to be a professional call? I've lost 2 clients already because of this situation, and my income has definitely taken a hit. Mary is a former elementary school principal, and oh my freaking God, she thinks this makes her the ultimate authority on everything related to children. She criticizes my parenting literally every single day with these little helpful suggestions that make me want to scream. She's always saying things about how Noah would sleep better with her schedule, how she never allowed sugary cereals for Donald, or that I'm holding the baby wrong. And while I know she has experience with kids, she doesn't seem to understand that I'm these kids' mother. I value their input, but sometimes I just want to parent without commentary. Raymond has basically colonized our living room at this point. He brought his recliner from their damaged house, the one piece of furniture they salvaged apparently, and has this massive collection of military history books that now takes up an entire bookshelf. Our bookshelf. That used to have our books and family photos. They barely contribute to household expenses, occasionally buying groceries, but only things they like to eat, and never offering to pay for utilities despite running the heat at 78 degrees all winter because older people get cold easily. Our heating bill literally doubled, but when I mentioned it, Donald just said, "They're on a fixed income. We can't ask them for money." The other day, there was this whole thing with Noah that still makes my blood boil. Mary told me Noah was crying because he was overtired, not hungry. I explained, I know my baby's different cries because I'm his mother, and this was definitely his hungry cry. She sighed loudly and told me modern mothers overthink everything, saying Donald was exactly the same at this age and she knew what he needed. I tried to stay calm while feeding Noah, but I got really angry when she literally took the baby from my arms without asking. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to cause problems. She started showing me her proper burping technique like I'm a first-time mom. Donald walked in and said nothing about his mother taking our baby. I gave him a look, asking for help that he completely ignored. Then Mary said Noah was content now because of her technique. I wanted to scream, but here's where it gets worse. Yesterday, I overheard Mary on the phone with her friend talking about how they received their insurance settlement 3 months ago. When I calmly, I swear, asked about this later, they claimed the money wasn't enough for a decent place. They never told us how much they actually got though, which seems suspicious to me now that I think about it. And then, last night they told us Mary and Raymond want to convert Noah's nursery into their permanent bedroom because a baby doesn't need that much space anyway. They suggested moving Noah's crib into our bedroom, saying it would be better for his development to be closer to us at night. I spent months decorating that nursery while pregnant. I hand-painted clouds on the ceiling. I put together that crib myself when Donald was on a business trip. That room is Noah's room. Donald just stood there and said they'd think about it while I was literally in shock. I couldn't even speak. I'm trying so hard not to completely lose it. I've been crying in the shower this morning so the kids don't hear me. Donald keeps saying, they're family and we need to be understanding, but I feel like I'm going crazy. Am I being unreasonable for wanting my in-laws to finally leave? For wanting my baby to keep his nursery? For wanting my office back? Or am I just being selfish? Edit. Thank you for all the comments and support. A lot of you are asking why they can't go back to their house. Apparently there was black mold discovered during repairs, which made the renovation much more extensive. Insurance has covered a hotel for them in the past, but that coverage ended months ago. Edit 2. Several people have asked about Donald's relationship with his parents. He's definitely a people pleaser with them, especially with Mary. She was pretty controlling when he was growing up, from the stories I've heard, and he still seems to want her approval for everything. He's normally great with setting boundaries with everyone else, just not them. Edit 3. To answer everyone asking if they contribute financially, they bought groceries maybe 5 to 6 times in 16 months, mostly stuff they want. Raymond fixed our leaky faucet once, and Mary watches the kids occasionally, but honestly creates more work for me with her reorganizing my kitchen and laundry room without asking. Edit 4. For those saying, I need to talk to Donald, yes, I know. We're having a serious conversation tonight after the kids are in bed. I'm writing down my points so I don't get flustered and forget anything important. I'll update when I can. Now for the first update. So a lot has happened since my last post, and honestly, I'm still processing everything. This is going to be long, sorry, but I really need to get this all out before I completely lose my mind. After posting last week, I finally had that talk with Donald after we got the kids to bed. I was basically terrified because I didn't know if he would actually stand up to his parents or just keep making excuses for them like he always does. We talked for hours, like literally until 2 a.m., and he finally admitted that he's actually really uncomfortable with his parents staying so long too, but he just doesn't know how to tell them no. Apparently growing up, his mom Mary was super controlling and would give him the silent treatment for days if he ever went against what she wanted. He told me about how when he was 16, he wanted to go to a concert with friends instead of some family dinner with his parents' friends, and she didn't speak to him for an entire week, then acted like nothing happened afterward. So he's basically spent his whole life just trying to keep the peace with her. This actually explains so much about our marriage. Like, there was this time in our first apartment where I came home from a weekend trip to visit my sister, and Mary had completely rearranged our living room furniture and replaced our curtains without even asking me. Donald had just let her do it because she has a good eye for decorating or whatever. I was so mad, but felt like I couldn't say anything because they had paid for our security deposit. We were just starting out. I should have seen this pattern way earlier, I guess. Anyway, we agreed that we needed to present a united front and tell them the nursery conversion was absolutely not happening. Period. We planned to talk to them the next morning. Well, that conversation went about as well as you'd expect, also known as terrible. When we told them the nursery would remain Noah's room, Mary immediately started crying. Those manipulative tears that don't actually involve any real emotion, saying we were being cruel to family who have nowhere else to go. Raymond started raising his voice about how they've contributed plenty to our household. They have not! And how ungrateful we were. The worst part was when Mary looked directly at me and said I was turning their son against them, like I'm some kind of evil puppet master controlling Donald's thoughts or something. Donald actually did speak up at this point. I was kind of proud of him, and said it was our decision as Noah's parents. But I could see him physically shrinking as his mom's tears got louder. Later that day, I actually overheard Mary telling Ethan, our 8-yo, that your mommy doesn't want grandma and grandpa to live with you anymore. I was furious, using my child as a pawn in her manipulation games. I wanted to scream at her, but managed to keep it together for Ethan's sake. Instead, I just took him to the park to get him out of that toxic environment for a while. But here's where it gets really interesting. And by interesting, I mean infuriating. Yesterday, Mary and Raymond went to visit some friends for the day. Since they've basically turned the guest room into a disaster zone, I decided to clean it up a bit while they were gone. I wasn't snooping. Okay, maybe a little, but after 16 months of them living in my house, I feel somewhat justified. You guys. I found bank statements showing that Mary and Raymond gave Donald's brother Larry $85,000 for a house down payment 2 months ago. 2 months ago. That money clearly came from the insurance settlement that was supposedly not enough to find their own place. They literally gave Larry enough money for a house down payment while continuing to mooch off us. And it gets worse. I also found emails showing they've been canceling apartment viewings that were arranged by their insurance company's relocation service. They've been actively avoiding moving out, on purpose, for months. I am absolutely livid. I can't even process this level of manipulation and lying. These people have been taking advantage of us while pretending to be victims, and I just can't believe the audacity. To make things even worse, Donald's cousin Jen called me yesterday and mentioned how sorry she was that we were going through such a rough time. Confused, I asked what she meant. Apparently, Mary and Raymond have been telling the entire extended family that I'm controlling and keeping them from being involved with their grandchildren. Are you kidding me? They live in our house. They see our children every day. How much more involved could they possibly be? This has led to Donald's aunt and uncle calling to lecture us about respecting elders and family obligations. I feel like his entire family is trying to make me think I'm crazy, and things are just getting worse each day. Last night at dinner, Mary complained about my non-organic vegetables and said she always made sure to use organic foods for Donald's meals. Raymond added something about children needing proper nutrition without pesticides. Donald just sat there silently. When Zoe asked why Grandma was angry, Mary said she was just concerned about the children's health and offered to take over grocery shopping to help me make better choices. I had to leave the room to avoid losing it completely. The worst part is how this is affecting our kids. Ethan's teacher called yesterday to say he's been acting out at school, which is completely unlike him, and Zoe has become super clingy and anxious, always asking if I'm mad or if Grandma is mad. Noah is the only one unaffected because he's too little to understand what's going on. Thank God for small mercies, I guess. Donald finally seems to be seeing his parents' manipulation, but he's still struggling with the idea of confronting them directly. Instead of saying, "You need to leave by X date," he's suggesting things like, "Maybe we can help them find an affordable apartment, or we could look into senior communities for them." I appreciate that he's trying, but after 16 months and now discovering their lies about the insurance money, I'm done with the gentle approach. So last night, I reached my breaking point. I gave Donald an ultimatum. Either his parents leave within 30 days, or I'll take the children to my sister Tony's house temporarily until the situation is resolved. I hate that it's come to this, but I can't keep living like this. I've actually calculated that his parents have cost us over $9,500 in additional expenses from increased utilities, groceries, and having to order takeout more often, because Mary criticizes my cooking so much that sometimes I just can't deal with making dinner. My work has suffered because I don't have a proper office space, causing me to lose 2 clients. We even had to cancel a planned family vacation to Disney World because we couldn't afford it while supporting 2 additional adults. Am I being unreasonable for putting my foot down after 16 months of increasing intrusion and disrespect, especially now that I know they've had the money to move out for months? I feel like I'm at my absolute limit here. Edit. Several people have asked if Donald has seen the bank statements and emails. Yes, I showed him everything I found. He was shocked and upset, but then started making excuses about how maybe they promised that money to Larry before the flood, and maybe they really don't have enough left for their own place. I love him, but sometimes I want to shake him and scream, "Wake up!" Edit 2. To clarify the timeline for those asking, the flood happened 16 months ago. They received the insurance settlement 3 months ago, which I only discovered accidentally, and they gave Larry $85,000 for his house down payment 2 months ago, all while telling us they don't have enough money to move out. Edit 3. A lot of you are suggesting that I just kick them out. I wish it were that simple, but legally, they've established residency at this point, so we would have to formally evict them, which Donald is absolutely against doing to his parents. Edit 4. For those wondering about Donald's brother Larry, yes, he knows his parents are living with us. No, he has not offered to let them stay with him despite just buying a house with their money. He has a 3-bedroom house that's apparently too small for his parents, but our house with 3 kids is fine. Edit 5. Thank you for all the support. I showed Donald some of these comments, and I think it's helping him realize how unreasonable this situation has become. We're having another talk tonight. I'm starting to think about what I need to do if he doesn't stand firm. I love him, but I need to do what's best for me and the kids at this point. Now for the second update. So it's been about 2 weeks since my last post, and so much has happened. First, thank you for all the comments and support on my last post. I honestly didn't expect that many people to read it, let alone respond with such helpful advice. Reading through everything really helped me realize I wasn't crazy for being upset about this whole situation. After I gave Donald that ultimatum, either his parents leave within 30 days or I take the kids to my sister's, things got interesting. Donald was kind of in shock, I think, but he finally seemed to understand how serious I was. That night after our talk, he slept on the couch, his choice, not mine, and the next morning, he looked terrible. He clearly hadn't slept at all. Anyway, I decided I wasn't going to wait around for Donald to maybe possibly stand up to his parents someday. I needed to take action myself, and that's when I came up with what I'm calling Operation Nursery Fortress, lol. Basically, if they wanted Noah's nursery so badly, I was going to make it the most baby-specific room humanly possible. Like, no way in hell could it ever be converted to an adult bedroom without completely gutting it. I took the money we'd been saving for a family weekend trip, which honestly wasn't happening anyway with the in-laws draining our finances, and went on a complete nursery renovation spree. I'm talking custom-built furniture that's literally anchored to the walls, a crib changing table combo that can't be moved without tools, wall-mounted shelving for all his baby stuff, and this whole nursing station setup that's basically built into the wall. I installed this ridiculous medical-grade air purifier for Noah's developing lungs. It makes this constant humming noise that would drive any adult insane trying to sleep there. And I got this super comprehensive baby monitoring system with like cameras and these little sensor pads that go under the crib mattress to track breathing patterns, which also beep randomly throughout the night for calibration. Then I went full crazy mom mode and hung developmental milestone charts on every wall, along with these elaborate schedules for feeding, sleeping, tummy time, etc. I even hired my friend Jess, who has a nice camera, to take a bunch of pictures of Noah in his nursery for developmental documentation and framed these everywhere in the room. I mean, I'm not usually this petty. Okay, maybe sometimes. But it felt so good to actually do something instead of just getting walked all over again. While I was doing all this nursery stuff, I found this old ratty stuffed bear hidden in one of the storage boxes Mary had in the guest room. It was obviously Donald's from when he was little, and for a split second I felt bad. But then I remembered the 16 months of criticism and boundary stomping and how she tried to turn my own kid against me, and I was like, nope, not falling for that guilt trip. Oh, and during all this remodeling, Mary kept making these little comments about how all this money could be better spent, and Noah won't even remember any of this, which just made me double down harder. Like, I literally went and bought more baby-specific stuff every time she made a comment. But I didn't stop with just the nursery. I also called up my friend Melissa, who's a lawyer, and asked her about the whole insurance situation. She said that if Mary and Raymond misrepresented their situation to the insurance company, it could potentially be considered insurance fraud. Like, if they claimed they needed housing assistance while actually having settlement money, that's a big no-no. She wasn't sure without seeing all the documents, but just knowing this gave me a little extra leverage. I also made this super detailed spreadsheet tracking literally every extra expense we've had since they moved in. The increased utilities, groceries, all the takeout we've ordered because I couldn't deal with Mary criticizing my cooking, plus my lost income from those clients I mentioned. The total came to just over $11,200. That's like a really nice vacation or several months of mortgage payments or a decent used car. Just gone. But the thing that really changed everything was what happened with Nina. Nina is Mary's sister, who they've apparently been lying to as well. I accidentally invited her over for coffee last Tuesday, knowing perfectly well Mary and Raymond would be home. Nina had no idea they'd received their insurance settlement months ago, or that they'd given Larry all that money for his house. You should have seen Mary's face when Nina asked her point blank about the insurance money. Mary tried to change the subject like 50 times, but Nina wouldn't let it go. Then Raymond tried to pull Nina aside, but she wanted him to explain it to all of us. It was the most satisfying thing I've ever witnessed. All of this finally gave Donald the backbone he desperately needed. He called a family meeting the next day with his parents while I was there too, which Mary immediately tried to reschedule, but Donald insisted. Donald reminded them that their stay was originally supposed to be 2 weeks, and it's now been 16 months. He told them he knew about the insurance settlement they received 3 months ago. When Raymond claimed the money was for rebuilding their house, Donald showed them the bank statement with the $85,000 they gave to Larry. Mary got upset about us looking at their private papers, which was ridiculous considering they've been living in our house rent-free for 16 months. Donald told them they had 30 days to find their own place. Mary started crying, saying we were throwing them out after everything they've done for us. Donald just repeated that the decision wasn't up for discussion. The next few days were tense. Mary and Raymond tried every guilt trip in the book about how much they've done for us and how ungrateful we were being. When the guilt trips didn't work, they called Larry, Donald's brother, who got the $85K for his house, who offered them his basement as temporary housing. The second he realized they might actually take him up on it, he started backpedaling hard, talking about how his basement wasn't really finished. It took them 3 weeks to actually move out. And would you believe they took way more stuff than they brought with them, including some of my wedding gift kitchenware and a bunch of towels that Mary claimed were already old anyway. I didn't even argue. I just wanted them out. After they left, one of our neighbors told me that Mary had been telling people I was mentally unstable and struggled with parenting for months. That explained why certain neighbors had been giving me these weird looks since February. I was livid, but also relieved to know I wasn't imagining the weird vibes. The changes since they've been gone are amazing. Ethan's teacher called last week to say his behavior at school has completely turned around. Zoe isn't clingy and anxious anymore, and I converted the guest room back into my office and have already landed 2 new clients. Donald and I are in marriage counseling now, trying to repair some of the damage from this whole ordeal. We've also established this strict 7-day maximum rule for all future family visits. Yes, including my family too, and made sure everyone knows about it. I won't lie, our relationship was seriously strained during all this. There were moments I genuinely considered whether our marriage would survive, but watching him finally stand up to his parents and choose our family made me fall in love with him all over again in a way. He's also started individual therapy to work on his people-pleasing tendencies, which has already made a huge difference. We've heard through the family grapevine that Mary and Raymond are telling everyone they were cruelly evicted despite having nowhere to go. But fewer relatives seem to be buying it now that Larry's been complaining non-stop about them taking over his basement for the past 2 months. Lol. I have mixed feelings about the whole situation, honestly. I'm sad for my kids' sake that their relationship with their grandparents might never be the same. But I'm also so relieved to have peace in my home for the first time in over a year. And Noah is absolutely thriving in his nursery that remains firmly his space. We did invite Mary and Raymond for Christmas, but the invitation came with an explicit 5-day limit. Donald personally called to make this boundary clear. Mary tried to argue, but he held firm and said it was non-negotiable. Anyway, this got super long, sorry. But I wanted to update everyone who gave me advice. This whole experience has been exhausting, but I feel like we've finally gotten our life back. And Donald and I are stronger now that he understands the importance of putting our immediate family first. Edit. A lot of people are asking about the house repairs. From what we've gathered, they actually decided not to rebuild their old house at all. They're planning to sell the land and buy something smaller eventually. But the eventually part seems very convenient since they're now living rent-free at Larry's. Edit 2. For those asking about Donald's relationship with Larry, they've always been competitive with each other, and Larry was definitely the favorite growing up. They talk maybe once a month normally, but there's been a lot more communication lately because of the parents' situation. Larry actually called Donald yesterday to complain about their mom reorganizing his kitchen without asking. Welcome to my world, Larry. Edit 3. Someone asked about the $11,200. No, they haven't offered to pay us back, and we haven't asked. Donald says he's just happy they're gone and doesn't want to complicate things by asking for money. I'm letting this one go for now because the peace is worth more than the money at this point. Edit 4. To everyone suggesting we should have gone the legal eviction route, we considered it but wanted to try the less extreme options first. And honestly, I'm glad we didn't have to go that route because it would have made family gatherings even more awkward than they already will be. Edit 5. Thanks for the awards. I never expected this saga to resonate with so many people. Special thanks to everyone who encouraged me to stand my ground in the previous posts. Your support really helped me stay strong through this whole mess.